Bolts Nation, it's Gasparilla week here for the Bolts Nation Block Party. Of course, I'm dressed for the part, and welcome in to another episode of the Bolts Block Party, powered by our friends at Jai Alai IPA. Wolfie here, joined by my cohort, Braden Coburn, and we're excited.
Co-pirate.
He is a co-pirate. Thank you, my matey. We've got another shipmate here with us this evening. Haydn Fleury, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Is it Fleurs? Is that the proper nickname in the locker room?
Yeah, Fleur.
Fleur.
Flower, if Frankie calls me Flower. So, yeah, anything works.
He's budding. He's a budding superstar. So, Haydn, listen, your first time here on the Block Party, we know it's gotten around the room that if you come on the Block Party, you tend to score a goal or get some points on your next game. So the next game you're out on the ice, we're going to be paying close attention to see if he gets a point on the board. But for our fans, Haydn, that maybe not know the backstory, your journey in getting to the NHL, we would love for you to kind of give us the trek, starting back with the Red Deal Rebels, playing in the WHL and getting selected in the Bantam draft. Just kind of take us through that process, growing up with your brother and that whole family life. But give us the whole story and the trek.
He's got to start in Carlisle, Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Boys.
He's got the Toronto Raptors hat on. I half thought maybe you would show up with a Saskatchewan Roughriders hat on. So
No, I don't got any of that. But my fence was painted green growing up, just like everybody else's fence in Saskatchewan. But I was born in Saskatchewan, lived there till I was about 5, and then we kind of moved around Alberta for a bit, and then we moved back. So I grew up kind of playing hockey everywhere. That's kind of how I met Pointer when we were like 10 years old or something. We met Pointer and played with him at a bunch of different stages. But when I moved back to Saskatchewan was probably when I was 14. That was kind of the one big step that I took. I went away to a boarding school called Notre Dame.
Yep.
And
this guy knows
we're
about
familiar about it.
Yeah, I think he knows about it.
There's been a couple guys. It's Coops actually went there. Coop went there, and we had Vinny LeCavia on the podcast earlier. He went there, and we told some stories about it.
Yeah, it's Google it. It's a pretty cool place. I think it's it really taught me a lot. Really taught me to grow up at a really young age, and I think that helped me. When I went away to junior in Red Deer, I'd already lived by myself or away from my parents for a while, so the adjustment to that really wasn't that big because I'd already been away. And got to junior, Brent Sutter came back as the GM and said he was only going to be the GM, and then we had a bad start, and he was the head coach again, and then our team won like 10 in a row after he was we were so scared because he was the coach, and we were so scared to lose, so we won 10 in a row, and I'll never forget it. And after that, it was kind of Brent was almost like my father figure probably my whole time in Red Deer. He was really hard on me, but he really cared for me off the ice as well as on, and always had my best interest, and I wouldn't be here without him.
I'm laughing because we have some of our notes here. I have right here. You have to talk about Brent Sutter, because he is, like you said, he's a tough love coach. Guys that play for him always improve. He's coached so many NHLers that have come through the ranks. And he's kind of synonymous with WHL hockey and just his style and the way he's been able to have success and push guys to the next level. But do you have a good Brent Sutter story? Because I know a couple. I've heard a couple through the grapevine. One of them I liked the best was the team was underperforming, and it was kind of around when I was in the WHL, and the team – it was the graphite sticks. So the guys were kind of, I don't know, it was going through a slump, and he thought the guys weren't playing hard enough. So he made all the guys play with wood sticks for just one game, and they didn't have enough wood sticks. So guys ended up changing sticks mid-shift, and it was a whole debacle. Yeah.
So the thing about that story is, I'll just add a little bit to it, this was before my time in Red Deer, obviously, but he taped all the sticks white, and with a Sharpie, he wrote "work" on the blade. So it was like he wanted those guys to work. And no, I mean, we had – so my 17-year-old year, we were kind of fighting for the playoffs. We were a younger team. We weren't super competitive. We didn't think it was our year to win by any means, but we had a pretty young and good team. And I remember we lost to Portland, who Portland at the time was like the juggernaut of the Western Hockey League. We lost like 6-5 at home, and he didn't come in after the game, but we got a text after, and it just said like, "See you at 6 a.m." or something like that.
Boy.
And I remember we put our stuff on at 6 a.m. and bagged us. And then at the end, he said, if you guys don't want to compete, we'll compete now. And we did a gauntlet drill. I don't know if you know what the gauntlet drill is, but every guy on the team lines up about 5 feet from the boards.
Okay.
And the guy at the start of the line, you skate through the line, and every guy hits you on the way by.
No, dude.
It was so every guy did it, and then you did it back. Oh. And then after he'd always come into meetings, and you knew if it was going to be a long one, he'd have his chair. He'd bring his chair into the middle of the room, and
oh boy.
But you know what? I think when you're that age, you need that kind of stuff. You need, like, when you're not, with your parents or anything like that, you need that kind of tough love from a coach. And then, I think a lot of guys, like, when they leave Red Deer, I think everybody's better for it. I think whether you play in pro hockey or you go to school, I think you really grow up in Red Deer. And I think that's probably a big part of the reason why they have so many guys that have played pro hockey and been successful at this level, is just because Brent teaches you how to play, and I think he teaches you how to be a man too.
He was my coach for World Juniors, and I remember sitting in the meeting. It was his first meeting, and he looks around, and he goes, has everyone got $20? And everyone puts up their hands. Yeah, everyone had at least $20. And he goes, well, there's some straggly-looking guys in here. Go get haircuts. And be back by 5 o'clock. So guys are running around Winnipeg trying to find a barber to give him a haircut. He's old school like that. But sometimes, that's what guys need, and he puts guys in positions to win, and it's just a straight arrow. And like you said, he expects guys to work, and he was a good coach.
And he knows, like, obviously not everybody on a junior team is going to play in the NHL and stuff, but I think it's if he's teaching you how to work in junior, like, you can translate that whether you're going to school after or do whatever. He really teaches you how to just, like, grow up, and I think that's, I love that guy. I got nothing but great things to say about him. Like, and then away from the rink, that family will do anything for you. If I called Brent Sutter right now and said I got arrested in Red Deer, like, he'd be the first guy there. And not that I got arrested in Red Deer, I'm not saying that, but away from the rink,
he'd take some time away from roping his cows and then he'd come help you out.
But I've been to his golf tournament a couple times, and, like, you get to see the other side of him, right? Like, he's pouring you a rum and coke at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and it's like, he really gives you that other side. And no, I got nothing. My time in Red Deer was really memorable, and I loved it.
All right, so back up a little bit. You mentioned some of the independence that you gained going to boarding school, and that's Haydn Fleury College in Notre Dame. Talk to us about Notre Dame. Why did you go there? Any good stories about Notre Dame?
Yeah, we got lots. I mean, so when we moved back to Saskatchewan's a little different, where the hockey's not. With all those small towns, like, it's like kind of one bigger town has, like, the team, and then all the little towns kind of combine and make the team. And I was going into my Bantam draft year, and I'd been to Notre Dame for a summer hockey tournament, and I, like, fell in love with the place. I was like, oh, I want to go here. I saw the guys playing hockey, like, after school, like a roller hockey or on the ice, and it was just all about hockey, really. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. And as soon as I begged my parents and they finally agreed, I went there. And
do you have to get accepted to this school, or is that like your parents are saying this is where you're going? I mean, it's like a boarding school. You pay
so it actually started as, like, it used to kind of be a school for, like, discipline.
Right.
Like, when it first started, it was like, probably actually when Coop went there, like, there was probably not the best, like,
sending the bad kids. The bad kids. You used to be able to barter for your tuition. So, like, way back in the day, Haydn Fleury would accept certain things for tuition, whether it was like a bag of potatoes or like something like that. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much culture, and, like,
the history,
is like, it's really incredible, and the town really hasn't changed much, and the dorms really haven't changed much. Like, the dorms are probably the same from when Coop went there to when I went there. Like, it really doesn't change much, but it's really not. So the town there's 300 people that live in the town when school's out of session, and then when school's in, it goes up to 600. So everybody's at the rink every night. Like, there's really not much else to do. And, you have 2 bunk beds on either side of the room. So I had 3 roommates. And my first roommate, I got there on the first day of school. His dad, I think, was like the head of the Canadian embassy in, like, the UAE or something like that. Wow. Like, it was just like, I was like, whoa. Whoa. And then I had a roommate from Ontario, and then a guy from British Columbia.
Interesting.
But we had on my midget AAA team there, we had a guy from Switzerland and a guy from the Czech Republic.
Wow, so this is like, this school is known.
Yeah, you meet some characters.
You really, like, a lot of Newfies. Like, it's very popular with the Newfies, and, you know, they're always good times. So they always have some funny things to say. And but no, I mean, when you're 14, it was really eye-opening at first, like that first couple weeks. You know, I'd never really been to church that much, and then on Sunday morning I'm getting woken up and you're going to church. So I really like that is kind of where like I've always been in places where like it's the culture or the structure has always been really solid. If you go to Notre Dame and then on to Red Deer, like I think that's always been something that's really been instilled, and just like the way I've grown up is like the structure and the culture and like how things are done has always been really, really solid.
When I was in Notre Dame, I had a roommate, and like you mentioned on Sundays, they make you go to mass. So his thing was he hated going to mass. He was just like, I do not want to go. So we had these giant lockers where you'd basically store all your stuff. And so he would make me lock him in the locker before mass, go to mass. I would go to mass, and then I'd come back and I'd let him out. You know, he's just like, just remember, come back right after and let me out. So
wow.
he hated mass that much,
That's
I guess.
Insane. Well, listen, growing up in Carlisle, because I know you broke that up. Brendan Morrow, we actually just had Stammer on last week's Bolts Block Party, and that name came up. And doing some research, Brendan Morrow was kind of an influence in your life as a very young kid. He used to babysit you?
Yeah. He was dating my cousin. They dated for 5 or 6 years, and they broke up, I think, when he was like 21 or something like that. But he was babysitting me when I was probably like 2 or 3, like small town, right?
I mean, really, right?
Everybody's your babysitter, but like
showing you the slap shot downstairs.
He played senior hockey on my dad's team when he was like 15. If they needed a guy, he would like play for him and stuff. So yeah, he was like the first guy kind of, you know, when you see a guy make it from a small town like that, it really puts a lot of belief and put a lot of belief in me that you could do it. And you know, you could find, if you work hard enough and do all the right things, that you can give yourself a chance.
Good Portland Winterhawk right there.
I was going to say, there's only been 2 other players besides you and your younger brother, Kale, was Morrow and Jim McKenzie, that have come out of Carlisle, which is pretty impressive.
So your dad, he got you guys into hockey. He was a hockey player himself, right? He played senior hockey in Carlisle, the Big Six Hockey League. Yeah. You know, so Wolfie, this is funny about Saskatchewan. Senior hockey in Saskatchewan is like very, very serious. It's not beer league. It's religion. It's very serious. There is full on fights. It's I don't know in Carlisle, but in my hometown in Shaunavon, some of the guys were getting paid to play senior hockey.
When you say senior, break that down. Not like senior citizens, but like a senior league.
Yeah, it's like you've graduated from minor hockey. Now you're playing senior hockey. So in Southwest Saskatchewan, it's the White Mud Hockey League. Your dad played in the Big Six Hockey League. Yeah. Talk to us about your dad, and is he the reason you got into hockey?
Yeah, he is for sure. He loves it. Still loves it. He was that guy growing up where he always made me and my brother an outdoor rink in our backyard, and then he took it one step farther. You'd find a way to like build like a little Zamboni where he could like attach a hose to like a piece of plastic and the rag, and then our shed turned into a heated dressing room and like stuff like that. Like he just, it was awesome. Like he'd always be out there in the morning before he went to work at 6 a.m. to flood it. If we wanted to skate before school or skate after school, it was always flooded. And after the first year, he actually flooded our neighbor's backyard.
But extra long range.
Yeah.
These are problems people in Tampa will never have.
No. So he flooded, but he learned from that, and he nailed it the next couple of years. And me and my brother, by then, like a month into the winter, we'd run out of pucks. Sure. So then we'd have to go ask our neighbors to go in their backyard. And northern Alberta, it was where we were living at the time. It snows a lot. Sure. So you're digging for pucks. Right. Like we could be out there for like an hour digging for pucks, but no, it was that was awesome. And then, growing up in a small town, the rink was open 24/7. So when I would go home from Notre Dame and stuff, I'd be at the rink till like 2 a.m. just because I could.
The doors are always open.
No one's gonna kick me out. So me and my little brother would do that a ton. We'd be on that ice till like 2 a.m. just playing one-on-one or shooting or working on our game, having fun. Like that was the best thing, and that's probably the thing I'll remember the most about Carlisle, just because I was so young when we lived there the first time, is being able to go to the rink at like 14, 15, and just like not having anybody kick me off.
Sure. So your dad played forward, right?
Yeah.
But you and your brother defense.
Yeah.
So what's the mindset in that? I mean, dad, being the forward.
Big burly centerman, right?
Yeah. So I always, for some reason, I actually never really played forward. I always just gravitated towards D. My little brother played a lot of forward growing up because he was a little bit smaller than I was. Right. Kind of, he was a late birthday, so he was always kind of like a little bit farther behind growing wise. So he played forward until Bantam. Okay. Or he was like forward and D, kind of switching around. Like he played both, but then he stayed on D, and then he hit his growth spurt, and it's like, okay, like now my brother's bigger than I am. So, but no, he was late. But I actually don't know why. I always liked starting with the puck. I think that's like D. You see the ice like and you're always starting it. And I always just thought it was nice to have the puck, especially when you're younger. Like the game's not really like, it might seem fast, but when you go to a 7-year-old's game, like It's not the fastest thing in the world. Sure. So no, I fought my dad whenever he tried to put me on forward. I always just wanted to play D.
Now you are I guess a small fraternity, if you will, of NHL brother households, right? We've had the Shen brothers, Radish, Foot, you and your brother Kale. Kobe and I have asked this question to those guys. So we have to pose a question to you. If you were ever in a situation facing your brother in a certain situation, would you ever fight your brother?
Oh, have you guys seen the Instagram picture?
I have not.
Oh God, look at my brother's Instagram.
I looked at yours.
There's a nasty.
Oh boy.
Yeah, my parents. This is probably my mom was pissed this night. So it was my 18-year-old year. So it was one of my brother's 16-year-old year.
Okay.
And not chirping my brother's team or organization at all, but when he was there, they were not good. They had went for it the year before he got there, basically, and just all their older guys were gone. So they were kind of struggling. They weren't a good team, and we were beating them probably like 3-4-0 in the first period. And I remember I joined the rush, and our guy tried to pass to me. Anyways, their goalie got the puck, covered it, and as I'm going by the goalie, I'm kind of like I kind of straighten my legs to go like this just to get by him. And I get blown up right into the post, and I'm like looking around, I'm like, what's going on? Right. And I look up, and it's my brother, and he's sitting there laughing at me, my little brother, and I start chasing him around the ice. And my parents are in the crowd, like probably all my family's watching the game online, and I'm chasing my little brother around the ice, like just trying to get after him, and he's just sitting there just laughing at me. I'm like, and then the next day he posts the Instagram picture and it said, "You good, bro?" or something like that. And I'm still going to get him back. Sure. I'm still like, that is just ingrained in my memory that if one day, like if I could get him back, if the game was like out of hand and I could do something to embarrass him, I would.
So it begs the question, who would win? Obviously the big brother. If I was fighting my little brothers,
you better win.
If they played in the NHL, I would kick their ass.
Like, as like the older brother, it's the pride factor, right? Like you can't lose the fight. Like I would like do anything.
Big brothers have to think that, I think. Yeah.
Like I won all the fights growing up, so I got to win. Okay. When we're growing up, I got to still win the fight, Like
we don't realize how tough those little brothers got because of those lessons.
He's put it on record here, Bolts Nation. So, all right. So we kind of got the backstory of the minors here, and then you were projected as a top 10 pick, selected by the Hurricanes in the first round, 7th overall in the 2014 NHL entry draft. You signed that 3-year entry-level contract. And then you kind of bounced around between their AHL affiliate, the Checkers, which you actually helped them advance to the Memorial Cup, was named to that NHL or AHL All-Star team.
Calder Cup,
yeah. The Calder Cup, which, Syracuse Crunch is very familiar with. But talk to us about that, because it's been quite the journey in that regard, going to the Hurricanes, and then, you got traded to the Ducks, and then the expansion draft for the Kraken. Talk to us about that whole next phase of your career and how that's been.
Yeah, so I think coming out of junior, I think I needed the full year in the American League. And I had a really good coach. Ulf Samuelsson was our head coach there. I think he's played 1,000 games, I'm pretty sure. And, he was awesome with me. Like, he was patient but hard on me at the same time. Like, he let me, because I think I think the biggest jump that people don't realize is probably playing in the major junior to the AHL. I think it's a way bigger jump than people think, just like the pro style, the pro game, the heavier, as a D-man, the heavier forwards, that kind of stuff. So I think the first probably half the year I really wasn't, I don't think I was playing well, and I think I was struggling a little bit, but I don't remember the game. I think it was against San Antonio. We were on the road, and it just kind of clicked. And like once it clicked, Ulf was like, that's it. Like that's like the blueprint basically. And after that, I kind of took off and had a really good rookie year, and then kind of took that we had, I mean, at Christmas time that year, I think we were maybe last in the American League. And we ended up making the playoffs. We had a really young team. I think we had 9 rookies. And we just got hot in the second half of the year. We ended up losing to Chicago in the first round in game 5, I think. And I think they ended up winning that year. They had a really good team, older team. But we gave them a fight in a 5-game series. You take it to 5. But I think that was big for me to play in that playoff series against those older guys and play well. And just take that momentum into training camp the next year when I ultimately made the team. And from there, my rookie year was again a little bit of an adjustment period. I think I started off really well, and then I think the only real difference between the American League and the NHL is the schedule, right? Like the schedule, the travel, and I think that was a little bit of adjustment. But I really liked my rookie year. Then the kind of the change started happening in Carolina, where the new owner, new coach, new GM, like kind of like all that. And I kind of not got lost in the fold, but I kind of had to re-earn my stripes.
Sure.
And that took a bit. I think I had some injuries the next year, so I was going up and down. I think I went up and down my second year like 20 times from Raleigh to Charlotte. I was on that highway. It seemed like every day. Like there'd be days where if I wasn't playing for the Hurricanes, I'd have pregame meal in Raleigh and drive to Charlotte for the game, and then drive back to Raleigh after the game. So it was a good year, but that was the year where we played. I think we lost to Boston in the Eastern Conference Final. We got swept, and then right after that game, I went and joined the Checkers for the last 2 series in the American League playoffs, and we played the Marlies first. They were a good team. We thought if we beat the Marlies, we were going to win. And we ended up beating them in 6 games, and then we ended up winning the Calder Cup. And I think that was kind of like that was a good way to finish the year, right? It had been a long year, a hard year with dealing with concussions and just like other stuff. So I think to end on that note was, a real positive. And anytime you get to play like extra playoff hockey as like a 21-year-old, I think it's huge. Yeah. So, and then the year after was kind of when I remember it was kind of like similar thing, like in and out. But I felt like I was playing well, and I don't know if like when you're playing well and you're coming in and out, it almost doesn't hurt as much because you're putting like your best foot forward.
Sure.
And Rod Brindamore was always really honest with me and really just like, he's like, at some point you're going to play and we're going to need you to play. And I'll never forget this. I had a practice where I wasn't good. And he came up to me on the plane and he pulled me right into the front. He's like, you got to be better. You got to be better. You got to bring it in practice. And he's like, he told me the same thing again. He's like, there's going to be a time where we're going to need you to play. And I'm like, okay. And that game, we were flying to Columbus. Dougie Hamilton broke his leg. And now all of a sudden I'm playing. And then 2 games after that was the David Ayers, the Zamboni driver game.
Right, yeah.
And we lost 2 D-men that game.
Right.
We lost Pesci, who was, I think Pesci is one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. He separated his shoulder, and we lost another guy, I forget who. But so now we're down to 4D in that game, and now we have no D basically. Right. So now we're really throwing me into the fire, and I think I responded really well to that. I had a really good kind of finish before COVID hit, and then kind of took that into the bubble and had a really strong bubble, and then signed the 2-year deal after that.
Yep.
But no, I think the bubble we had such a close team in Carolina. We had so much fun in the bubble. We really didn't want it to end. And then obviously when it ends, you're like, okay, let's get out of this dungeon. But no, I mean, the Carolina experience I had with the group of guys that we had, we were all kind of young guys coming up together with Aho, Hanifin, Slavin, Pesh. We were all kind of early 20s. So it was little bit like I didn't get a college feel, but like, Raleigh, college town, and with a bunch of us young guys, it was a ton of fun.
Sure. So the Kraken, you reunite with your brother.
Yes.
What was that like, knowing that you were going to go there and be with him?
Yeah, so I found out about the expansion draft the night before because I was flying to Seattle for the actual event. And then, so I remember I was running all over Calgary to get a COVID test. And the next morning I had to go to the gym at like 5 because the flight was at like 7:30 or something. So I had to like get my stuff done so I could get on this plane. And as I'm flying to the plane or driving to the plane, my little brother texted me and was like, "I'm a Kraken too." And I'm like, "Oh, that's unreal." I was so excited for him. I had like heard some stuff before about, like, because that was when they exposed Carey Price, and everybody was like, "Oh, are they going to take him? Are they going to take him?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, they could take my little brother too." And no, it was awesome. I think so. When he told me, I was just getting on the airplane, and then that day the list leaked like right before like the expansion draft, so all like the results were like already on the internet.
Interesting.
Before we even land, like when we landed, I was
already there
on the plane with Jordan Everly, and we were like looking, and it was like everyone was right. So like, so it was cool. I think that whole event there, like Seattle in the summertime is, it's really, really beautiful city.
Sure.
And then just kind of that first year, everything was so new and so cool. Like I think it was a learning experience for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think everybody kind of thought, oh, Vegas went to the Cup final. I think that was probably the hardest thing our team had to deal with like that whole year was
expectations were sky high.
They were sky high. And I mean, Vegas they caught lightning in a bottle and just went on a run. I think I don't know if that could ever be done again.
No. Yeah, I think a lot of teams learned their lesson about how to kind of properly work the expansion draft after that.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out for them, but for us, it's a gem for you to be on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Talk to us about, when you got picked up by the Bolts, obviously after all of that and being with the Kraken, thinking you're going to get established there, and then boom, you're coming to Tampa.
Yeah, it was actually a wild 24 hours. The deadline to get qualified is like a certain day, and then free agency is like 2 days after or something like that.
Yep.
And going off my meetings, I didn't think I wasn't getting qualified. I thought I was going to be back in Seattle, so I really wasn't worried about it. And I had a golf trip to Ireland planned, so I was like, I'm like, this is going to take care of itself. Like, let's just let it be. Like, it'll find its own way. And I'm like, okay. So I'm driving home one day, and I get a call from the Seattle GM, Ron Francis, and he's like, "Hey, we're not going to qualify you." And I'm like, oh God, here we go. So
you're like, it was like a pit in your stomach.
Yeah.
Like,
so I was flying to Pittsburgh that night.
Oh boy.
I was flying on a red eye from Toronto, and then Toronto to Pittsburgh, and then playing golf in Pittsburgh for a couple of days, and then going to Ireland. So, I get to Pittsburgh, and I was playing golf, and my agent keeps texting me, and he's like, "Tampa Bay's interested. Julian just called," and I was like, got tingles down my spine, like when it was like Tampa Bay, because like, I've been in the finals 3 straight years, and I was like, oh my God, like, and I knew Hags, I knew Pointer, and I'm like, oh man, like, but I was like, man, like I was like kind of like lost for words at the start, because I was like, oh man, like it's Tampa Bay, like all this stuff, and finally, like Julian called me, and he might not know this, so I was on the golf course, and I had to skip a hole, so. And the conversation just went really well. Yeah. And I just said, hey, like, just give me a couple hours, and, I'll call you back, or get my agent to call you back tonight. And right after, I was like, I was with golfing with the guys, and they're like, yeah, like,
go.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Talked to my wife, and, she was more nervous about the move cross continent, far away from home. But no, ever since we've been here, we've absolutely loved it. I love the city. I love how small it is, and everybody kind of, everybody's so nice and positive, and being in the sun all the time is great. And my son, he has his little preschool now, so it really does feel like home away from home, and it's just a really special place to play hockey.
I appreciate him naming his kid after me too, by the way. His son is Wolfie, by the way. What made you name him Wolfie? Like, where's that? I mean, obviously I can't take credit for that, but where'd the name Wolfie come from?
Well, it's just guy? Wolf. Wolfie's his nickname. Yeah, right. Nickname. So my wife's best friend was having a baby like 3 months before we were. So they were kind of telling us, she like texted my wife one day and was like, I have this cool name, but my husband hates it.
Okay.
And she's like, it's Wolf. And I'm like, wow, like that's a sick name.
Best name
like,
ever.
Yeah, it's an awesome name. So
legit.
Literally right from there, like Jade would have been probably 2 or 3 months pregnant, and we knew right from then it was going to be Wolf. And then Kylie Jenner named her son Wolf right after.
With the E or no?
No E, I don't think. But then she switched it back. So she copied us, and then she didn't. But no, it was, right from the start, it kind of just stuck. Like, I think that's like the thing with names is like kind of like if you're like naming a dog, like something just sticks.
Sure.
And Wolf stuck. And
Wolf Fleury's a great name.
Yeah,
like, a great name.
That's what we're going for.
Hockey name I've ever heard of. How's dad life changed your perspective on things now?
Everybody says it's the best thing to happen to you, and honestly, like when he came, it just puts so many different like things into perspective. Like all of a sudden, like I love what I do. I love coming to the rink every day to be with the guys, but being able to go home and like see my son just like grow up, and now he's playing hockey and doing all this stuff. It's really just so special, and like to have, like all the things that he gets to do and see, like to watch his dad play hockey and do all that kind of stuff. I think it's something like these are the times where I don't think I'll ever forget him, just because like he gets to see me do what I love, and hopefully he, grows up and doesn't have to be hockey, but if it's hockey, it's great. And, he gets to see his dad, do something that he dreamt about. And, hopefully that can help him like achieve his dreams.
Do you love coming in the dressing room? I know my kids loved coming in the dressing room. It was like a lot of fist pumps, a lot of checking out equipment.
He can't get by the synthetic ice room.
Oh, he sees that.
Like, so he's like obsessed with mini sticks. I've told some people this, where like there'll be days where I play mini sticks for like 2 hours. Yeah. And I'm like, man, my back's killing me. Like I got my heat pack on playing mini sticks with my kid. And no, as soon as we get to the rink, he's right in that synthetic ice room, and he'll just stay in there the whole time. And then when you actually sit him down to watch the game, he'll just sit there just like this the whole game and just watch. It's crazy. Like I've never seen, like he'll be running around the house, but if the guys want to, like if, for example, this past road trip when I'm watching the games, he'll sit there with me the whole time and just stare at the TV and just watch hockey.
That's the best way to learn.
He's going to learn.
That's the best way to learn.
He's going to learn.
Yeah. I wanted to get back a little bit about this Tampa Bay Lightning team, and what has surprised you that you've learned since being here that you didn't really know before you got here?
From the outside, you assume that it's like a well-oiled machine. And then once you actually get here and you see like how like everything works and runs, I think the attention to detail from our best players and our leaders really just makes its way down the list. Like I think Nikita Kucherov is like, I think he's the best player in the NHL. Like I really do. I think he's the most underrated player. Nobody talks about him. And I was lucky enough to skate with him all last summer because I stayed in Tampa, and the work that he puts in is legit mind-blowing. That like all the stuff that he does on the ice, he has done 5,000 times in the summertime.
Yep.
And now like just working with him all last summer, like you get so much more of an understanding for like how he is. I think he's one of the most like probably like misinterpreted people. I think sometimes like he gets like people get on him about his body language and all that stuff, and it's like he cares so much about like his craft that like he just wants what's best for everybody. And obviously this year like he's been on another level, and I think it's insane to watch really, because like not a lot of guys when they're getting up to his age are still doing like I guess 31 or 30's old in hockey now. But
well, Stammer said 30's a new or 40, or what do you say, 40's a new 30 or 30's a new
30's the new 40.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But it's really just contagious. Like when you see like the best player in the world working on his craft, it's like, well, how can't I? Like, why can't I get better? If he's still trying to get better and he just had 100 and however many points last year, like, and you really just got to take everything that he does. You can take it in because all the little things that he does in his skill set is so applicable for every single guy on the ice and in the NHL.
It's repetitions, right?
Yeah. It's all repetitions. It's all rims, picking up pucks, feeling comfortable like with where the puck is, and it's really mind blowing. And then like you get like Victor and Stammer, probably the two best two of the best human beings I've met playing hockey. They're just salt of the earth human beings that happen to be really, really good at hockey.
Right.
And they're two really special people that made it really easy for my wife and I to come in and feel like welcome to the team.
Well, one of my I know he's going to the All-Star game, but my best Cooch story is he wasn't at the All-Star game this one year. And All-Star game is kind of a time for guys to recharge. So some guys were going to the Caribbean, they were going to the beach just to kind of unwind and get some time off. Not Cooch. No. He's at the rink. He's doing his thing. He's going through his routine. He's working his butt off. And I remember him being so angry at some of our rookie guys that they went on these vacations. He's like, what do you need to recharge for? You should be at the rink grinding with me. That's just that level of expectation he has. And it really kind of, it flows through the whole locker room. When you see your best player working that hard, it's really hard not to follow suit.
Sure. And I think, again, when you set the bar that high, the expectations are that when you rise, to the occasion, you rise the bar, it's hopes that everybody else is going to rise with the ship. Listen, Kobe, we could talk to him forever. I know we're already like 35 minutes in. We haven't even got time. I know.
We didn't even get into golf because I know Fleurs is amazing golf.
We'd be here until game time. I
was listening to a podcast you were on. It was like chasing birdies about your trip to Ireland, but we'll have to get that in next time.
So before we get out of here, Haydn, we play a little game here, powered by our friends at Jai Alai IPA called Fact or Fiction. So basically, these are either true or false statements. It's literally that simple. So I'm going to fire off with the first one here, Cobes. Here we go. Fact or fiction, Haydn Fleury. You are second cousins with NHL goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
No relation at all?
No.
Have you guys talked about that in the past? Like to see if there's a distant cousin or?
I want to stick so bad. I collect hockey sticks. I want to stick, but I've been too scared to ask him and scored on him once, but that's it.
Okay. I heard he's a pretty scary guy. He's just smiling all the time.
Looks terrifying out there.
He's the nicest guy ever.
All right, you're up, Coach.
All right. Fact or fiction? In the expansion draft with Seattle, it was the first time in NHL history 2 brothers were selected by the same team in the same draft.
Fact.
That is.
How cool is that?
That is true.
Yeah. Like, is he the only one?
Yeah. First, only pair of brothers in NHL history.
Your mom and dad must be proud of that one.
Yeah, they got a nice little shrine from that in their house. It's pretty cool.
Very cool to be the only one of that. All right. Fact or fiction? Let's see how well he knows his crew. 4 of your teammates have been in national TV commercials.
Victor, Stammer, Patty. Or is this Patty? Current teammates?
Current
teammates. Wow.
Yeah, remember the one for Patty? It was like for insurance or something. Like,
is it this year? Or is it ever?
I thought it was Bud Light.
I don't know. But no, 4 of your current teammates have been in national TV commercials.
I feel like I've seen like Cooch or Vasi on like some, I'm going to say it's fact.
It is fact. He is right. Because remember, Vasi was in like a Bauer commercial where he was in the kitchen with the equipment, obviously Cooch with the Geico, and now in the Moss Nissan, Stammer and Hetty, obviously.
We got a team full of actors.
We do, man. And they pretend like they don't know how to act. All right, you're up, Cobes.
All right. It was fact or fiction. You lost a bunch of money on that trip to Ireland in your golf games. You got rinsed on the golf course.
That is a fact. I 3-putted. So the last day we had a Ryder Cup. And me and Vince Trocheck off the Rangers, we were the captains, and we drafted the team the night before. It was a big ordeal. Everybody's like, wearing matching clothes. Like it was Team Fleury, Team Trocheck.
That's great.
And I 3-putted the last hole to lose.
Oh.
And it was like not a 3-puttable. Like it was an easy 2-putt, and
it was the pressure or the Guinness that got you.
For sure, the Guinness was incredible. I'll blame it on that. But the problem in Ireland is you can't. There's no cart girl, so you can't reload every couple holes. So it's you got to chug and repeat.
All right, final question. When you signed, or fact or fiction, when you signed in the expansion draft with Seattle, you got to throw out the first pitch at a Mariners game.
Fact.
Pretty cool.
I think we all did that day, right? There was,
I couldn't tell if
it
was just you or the whole crew.
No, so there was all the guys that went to the draft. I think there was like 5 or 6 of us.
Yeah.
They kind of brought us all out onto the field. lined us all up, and then all the Mariners guys kind of were right there. And
very cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was that ballpark's beautiful.
It's amazing.
It's really cool. I mean, the Winter Classic was really cool there. Yeah, it was awesome.
It was amazing.
Was it a strike? Did you throw a strike? Throw a heater down the middle?
Fact or fiction?
Like, it's for sure a changeup. It might have slid out of the zone. Like, I'm not bringing
maybe a little sinker.
Yeah, I'm not bringing the heat. Like but it didn't go in the dirt.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, thank you, Bolts Nation, for taking your time to watch another episode of the Bolts Block Party. Haydn Fleury, we thank you so much for being here. We thank, of course, our friends at Jai Alai IPA for powering the whole thing, and we will be back after Gasparilla, mateys, with another episode of the Bolts Block Party. You guys have a good one.